All right, we're back. We're back with season 5 of Mind Over Music. I'm your host, Sean Ali Molina. So happy to be with everyone this evening. Tonight, we have a very fun and special episode with Vinay's Corner. The one and only Vinay Singh is with us tonight on our show. Vinay, thank you so much for joining.
Hey, thanks for having me, brother.
Hey, no worries, man. So we got some really fun, exciting topics to get through tonight. We're going to be talking a little bit about this digital AI revolution and how they're making little caricatures out of us. And we'll also be talking about certain trends that we're seeing in the workplace with regard to workplace toxicity. So really, really excited to get into this with you. Let's start, Vinay, with this cool, fun trend. Talk to us about what we're seeing. I know that I've seen it as well. Like on Facebook, people are just posting this, kind of animation of them popping out or being a little action figure, that AI is creating. So, and it's fun, man. I think it's all in good fun. But what are some of the challenges, dangers that we're also seeing with being able to have ChatGPT get unfettered access to us, and is it inevitable that it'll get there anyway?
Yeah, that's a great question, Sean. I think that the answer is yeah. It's just going to get there anyway, right?
No.
It's just permeated all our lives. There's billions of people. It's not even the millions. It's billions of us are on the internet. And so yeah, isn't it funny? So there's like Mattel, like the toy action figure. Now, before I even read the article, at least 5 of my friends sent me their like project manager, Michael. It's like my buddy, right?
Yeah.
So like I could have like sent you like a author and book author, and it's just a picture of me in like a book.
Yeah,
so it's kind of funny.
So did you do it? Did you end up doing yours?
On the flip side, what I've been reading is that ChatGPT uses so much electricity. It's something like it's using as much electricity as 117 countries. So there's a lot. It's funny, like we're playing with it, but as we play, it's siphoning out electricity from other places. So that's a pro and a con. The pro is having fun.
Yeah, but is it siphoning energy? Because I don't think that our grids are combining, right? Like is it just because I think about things like the access to water, right? Desalination is so cheap, right? But yet people don't have access to fresh water. You think about energy, and nuclear and other ways of renewables. Do you think that it's a governance issue, or do you think that we're actually siphoning off energy that other countries might have had access to if we didn't use it?
Yeah, I don't think everything that I understand is that we don't have enough electricity. So we're in the United States. We don't have enough electricity to power our, like Elon's vision of everybody having electric cars, right?
Yeah.
And so we would have all the chargers. We don't have the electrical infrastructure, but it's not just the charging stations. We don't have the electricity.
Mm-hmm.
If everybody replaced all their gas cars to electric cars, we just don't have, that's not even possible because there's not enough electric to power the entire nation of cars. Now, on the flip side, I think you probably know about this, but we don't have enough AI data centers for every company to be fully AI. We just don't have it. So we don't have the electricity. I'll say this. I read that about 4 years ago when Russia and Ukraine started their first, the bombings, that a Ukraine hospital went down with no electricity. Mm-hmm. And they said a lot of that electricity was prioritized to the United States. And they made a reference to like Netflix. So it was more important to keeping the power of the Netflix user base than potentially like a third world country. So these are the things that are actually happening.
Yeah, I just don't know how I don't know if that's how the grid actually works, right? So like let's say, for example, internet, right? Internet just comes out, right? And then there's like fiber that's being I guess like laid out across the world. And then now you have things like satellite or whatnot. Well, like in the 1990s, that's like saying, well, we don't have enough internet power to get everybody, the fastest internet in the world, right? Yeah. And at that time, it was just not even as close to where it is today. But the infrastructure wasn't built out. And so, I think that as AI is powered today, things like cryptocurrency, Bitcoin takes so much energy to power itself. You know, do we have enough power right now for everybody to have, you know, a megawatt a day? And I don't think that the energy grid is there today, but the
I agree with you.
infrastructure.
I don't think so too. And I think we've got multiple geopolitical forces, right? You've got the crypto and the Bitcoin conglomerate of people that are pushing for more and more and more. We want this. And then we have the people that want the electrical infrastructure for automotive to power not just everybody to go EV, but everybody to go EV and autonomous. And then you have this whole other group that say, no, 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 the most important thing is AI and semiconductor and chip engineering.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, imagine if like we had three lobbyists. One's oil, one's pharmaceutical, I don't know, and one's retail.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all wanting the rare earth mineral.
Mm-hmm.
There's only so much to go around. That's like a good example, right? We've got crypto, we've got autonomous and EV, and then we've got semiconductor. And we don't have the electrical infrastructure, like you just said,
Yeah,
for not just one of them, but all three of them.
yeah. I mean, we do right now, right? And I think the whole idea, because it seems like China has got the infrastructure to be able to put their kilowatt hour down toward a penny, right? So I think it's a little bit more than a 1 penny per kilowatt hour. The average cost for a kilowatt hour here in the United States is like over 7 cents, right? So we have to figure out how to build this out, because if we want to have, but there is also a population constraint in China, right? You're talking about 1.4 billion people versus 350 million people here in the US.
Right.
And you know, the average consumption per US citizen or per US person, you know, who's consuming is also has to be, you know, accounted for in the calculus. You know,
like 10x.
yeah, exactly. And but can it be 1,000x more, right? And where's that infrastructure going to come from, right? All these rare earths, like you're saying, all these rare earth minerals actually are all coming from China. The United States doesn't know how to mine for rare earth, right? And so materials, and so you know, where that fundamental building block is to actually create the infrastructure, that's going to be a big challenge. So we're going to be looking at renewals before we look at, you know, building new power plants and nuclear and things of that sort, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's also probably why we hear a lot of news, right? With the Trump administration, they want to bring all the they want to bring manufacturing back.
Yeah.
So we can actually have the manufactured data centers, the electric grids and stuff, because we've been outsourcing that for decades.
Yeah, and it goes to, you know, this whole Democrat versus Republican states, right? It's interesting because if you think about all the deals that are being made in the U.S., where a lot of these companies like NVIDIA and Apple are reinvesting to put data centers in the U.S., a lot of them are coming to Republican states, right? Like Texas is one of them, right? And it's because it's so easy and so quick to be able to build. You're not getting stuck in permitting and things of that sort. And time is of the essence, right? Whoever gets to general AI first is going to have a big leg up in the new world order, right? Would you agree?
I agree. I also would say this, though. I think probably if we think about it, you're right. A lot of the South might be like, you think about New York City down to Atlanta and Miami, and then you think about Seattle down to LA and California. A lot of cities have been built. There's a lot of extra space, and so it's cheaper.
Yeah.
So it's time to do a lot of development down there. Why not? I think it would be a great idea.
Yeah, and you know, it seems like the people who are the most successful, right, in the world, right? If you talk about New York and then like East Coast, West Coast, and then where people are migrating across from there, right? Like you had mentioned, so I think people in California are kind of going north, you know, toward, you know, the Portland, Seattle area. I think people from, you know, New York are going south toward Florida. And they're just spreading wealth across these, you know, prime real estate properties, and it leaves like the middle of the United States wide open for business to be done and people to move in, find cheap housing, be able to kind of look at what their next future jobs might look like as well. Which I guess gives us a good transition into our second subject, which is going to be talking about toxicity in the workplace, right? Let's talk about how confrontational people are getting. You know, I think it seems like we're going through this curve where people we're very direct in the workplace. There's a lot of, you know, workplace harassment, sexual harassment, all that stuff. and then everything became super soft and very political, and there was a lot of walking on eggshells with each other, and it seems like it's coming back, but there is a lot of toxicity in the workplace. Walk us through that journey of like what happened over the last 20 to 30 years in the workplace.
I've been thinking about this, Sean, and I remember you and I talking during COVID and post-COVID, and remember there was like a lot of news about people fighting on the planes in 2022 when we started, and how shocking it was. Like, how can people be fighting on the planes up in the air?
Yeah.
And so I think we've got that, and then we've got this workplace toxicity that's growing. I really think it's a number of factors happening. And I'd love to hear what you think. We are becoming ever more isolationist. 20 years ago, you held the cell phone to your ear. Now you hold it to your eyes.
Right.
So we are talking less, expressing ourselves less, right? Incrementally. Now texting and emailing is the dominant. Nonverbal communication is the dominant.
Yeah.
So it is. You asked about the 20-year swing. Our communication is less, verbally more like this, but we're also consuming a lot of social media, and I think a lot of the social media, I mean, the algorithms can be designed to the negative. So if you're watching lots of shocking videos, let's face it, people are watching a lot of shocking stuff. Their algorithms are sending you more and more and more of that because I think all your users, and you would agree, they want us to stay on the platform. That's the sole goal. So isolationism. I think 20 years ago, we didn't spend as much time talking about politics. Now it almost dominates anything anybody says. Depending on what you say, somebody could just say, well, that's because of politics, right? That's left, or that's right, or that's red, or that's blue. So you have isolationism, you have nonverbal communications, you've got negative videos, you've got politics, and I think all this is happening at the same time.
Yeah,
that's probably a good one of the big things.
Yeah. So what do you think is happening in like political correctness? Because it seems like it might have. I don't know if it hit its peak and now it's coming down on a trough, or if it kind of always has stayed there, and now people are just bursting at the seams to actually talk about how they feel, and so now we're seeing the signal come up. But it was always how people felt anyway, right? Where are we with that?
You know about political correctness?
Yeah.
I think that things have become far more political, don't you think? Mm-hmm. Over the last, I'd say 10 years than it was before. I just don't think that people in business, I don't remember talking about politics 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Yeah.
But now it's like we're becoming like a divided nation. So political correctness, if you're on one side of the America, or like the blue, if you're a blue, you have a politically blue correctness.
Yes.
And if you're red, you have a politically blue a politically red connectness.
Mm-hmm.
And so whatever maybe business ideas you have, they might go, oh, well, that's woke.
Yeah.
Or that's right. So yeah. We're making it like that. We're bringing the politics into the workplace, and it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier, right? We're not going to get away from social media, even though they wanted us not to use ChatGPT. Do you remember like when ChatGPT first came, nobody's allowed to use it in the workplace, and now everybody's using it, right? You can't.
Vinny, why do you keep calling it ChatGPT when it's ChatGPT?
Yeah, I always get that messed up.
So funny.
You know why? Because cars are ChatGPTs.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Cars are always GTs.
Oh yeah, right.
GPTs,
right.
Yeah,
GTP versus GPT. But you did have a point around seeing like male toxicity increasing in the workplace. Is that correct? Did you want to talk about that?
The statistics say there's more men that are more hostile in the workplace than women. Women something like 23%, men are like 35%. Yeah.
Why is that? Like that's what I'm trying to get to is why is that happening in the workplace today?
I'm not sure exactly if there is one pinpoint reason why there's more male.
Yeah, in general, you can have like 10 reasons, but like, what are those reasons you think?
I think that if we look at, let's just take the executive class. There are more CEOs that are men that are women. That's an example. So there's more men that are in potentially leadership roles in a lot of different industries. Like maybe if we were to look at finance, you'd say, okay, there's a lot more men in that group. So I think it has to do with level and who they're measuring. So you have a lot more leaders that are men. I think that because of that, and I think politics has a lot to do with potentially getting angry and toxic in the workplace, whereas before we just didn't bring the politics in. So it's it's more men in leadership. Mm-hmm. Women are gaining every year more and more into leadership roles, but is it equal? Like I haven't heard that the glass ceiling is broken yet. Mm-hmm. So I'd say these are some of the big things. I also think that people have, and I think this is a very big thing that we don't talk enough about, but we have less and less attention span. Mm-hmm. And I think when you bring politics in and you have less attention span to listen to somebody, right? And then you just have to blurt out what you have to say because no, that's not what it is. So I think attention span is a very big deal. And we're not talking enough about that. People don't have tolerance. And when people don't have tolerance and they don't have attention span, that can amplify toxicity.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So I guess what I wanted to kind of end this segment off in, episode 3 of Vinay's Corner often is, kind of to understand, the dynamic here, right? Because you're right. There's freedom of speech. We're all online, and many of us, if we took all of our online personas and we made it public to everyone could look at our search history, our comment section, everything that we've ever commented on. It would be quite embarrassing. I think people would be very hesitant to have that go public, right? And I think that might be the thing that's spilling into the workplace. We're just not as kind and courteous to one another. And maybe it's because we're not as patient with one another anymore. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Sean, you said it very well. So kind and courteous and not as patient. So if you lose attention span, it has to do with exactly what you just said. Yeah. And if you make everything about politics, I'm not saying a lot of people do, but I'm not saying everybody does, but I think a lot more people do than ever before, because a lot more people, politics has more to do with our lives than ever before, mm-hmm. right? It's why we have such a divided strain in the United States. So I think it's exactly what you're saying too, right? All these things are layering on top of each other, and creating all kinds of tough things for us to deal with at work that we never had to before.
Yeah. That's brilliant. Well, Vinay, thank you so much for being on the show again. This is episode 3 of Vinay's Corner wrapped, and we thank you so much for doing the research, for kind of coming through and bringing these thoughtful topics to the show every week. So thanks so much,
Sean. It's so much fun.